don't do good by one person, you're not just losing that one person. You're losing everybody else they was going to plug you with.
Wow.
So that's why service is very important. And if you mess up, then compensate for it. Extra time, extra money, apologize, whatever you do, because there's a lot of relationships that has been lost because they ain't do right by me. So I'm not plug you in anybody else because that's gonna make me look bad.
Yep.
So relationships is really everything, depending on how you want to, swing the pendulum.
Welcome to Entrepreneurhood, where we break entrepreneurship down into 3 simple pillars: business, lifestyle, and motivation. Our goal is to use our personal experiences as industry leaders to guide and inspire young entrepreneurs to see the lesson in every challenge. Because we understand that companies don't succeed, people do. Now, welcome the leaders of Entrepreneurhood, Lakim and KB.
Welcome to the neighborhood. You got your boy Lakim in the building, and I got my brother KB in the building with me. We on episode 52, and we decided to call this one Relationships is Everything. So KB and I, we've been doing a lot of networking over the last few years, but specifically within the last few weeks. And KB's going to share with y'all why we decided to talk about the importance of relationships and networking. So KB, what's the reason of why we decided to choose this topic?
I think the title speaks for itself. But it's just, relationships is how we build our brands and how we're going to continue to build our brands. And you got to realize solid relationships can always lead to positive outcomes. So people that got the similar values, they come from a similar background, that always helps the relationship. And then also the exchange. And I think a lot of people forget about that part with networking. It's not about who's who. It's about, what can you bring to the table as well.
Yeah. And I feel like when it comes down to networking, a lot of people, when they go into relationships, they look to see what they could get out of a new relationship instead of what value they could add. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think because that's been the thing where it's like, get in the room, and it's like you in the room, but what can you add to the room? Like
Yeah.
I always kind of didn't really appreciate that line because there are people that's buy the ticket, they go to the convention, they go to conference, and they can't add no value to you. Like not at all, because they're not making moves on their own. So now, for example, if I'm doing credit repair and I'm not doing credit repair well, I'm in the room with other people who need their credit repair. How can I help them?
Facts.
So just because you know the who's who's and people that's talking on stage and you shake their hand, take a picture.
I don't do nothing, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you gotta add value. You gotta be able to solve somebody's problem if you have a successful business and you want to do it in the best way. So yeah, my thing is, if you're going to network, it should be exchange. What's the exchange if you talk to this person? Don't just talk to them because of who they are. Who are you?
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? So I just went to Invest Fest 2023, and one of my clients, my coaching clients, she was like, "Yo, Lee Kim, do you think I should go to Invest Fest?" And I straight up told him, like, "What is the value that you're going to bring?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know." And I was like, "Don't go." I just straight up told him, I was like, "Just don't go to Invest Fest, bro, because like you don't know what your end goal is with networking." And you don't really know your lane. He's like at a weird stage right now, okay? And he's trying to figure out, like, he's changing industries and he doesn't know what his value is, or what he could bring to the table. So what are your thoughts? You felt like, was that valid or was that kind of harsh?
It was both. But I think we need that though, because you want to have a purpose and an angle when you speak to anybody. So if we take a business side, if you speak into a female and you see in the street, you're interested, but you have no purpose of doing anything valuable with her time to add to her life, you just want to talk to her because she's beautiful and everybody thinks she's beautiful, you're wasting your time. Like, don't say nothing. So it's like in business, you gotta have a purpose, you gotta have an angle. So you just being in a room, a bunch of pretty females, don't think, oh, I should go up to them. What's your purpose, bro? If you're not buying a drink, you don't have no money to buy a drink. You know what I mean? You're not looking clean right now. Nah, just stay home, work on yourself, get your confidence up, do some push-ups. And then when it's time for you to go outside, you're gonna be ready. But don't just be going just to be going.
So pretty much KB is saying if you don't got no money, your money acting funny, stay home. Like, and what the seriousness behind that though is like kind of like what we said is you got to bring some type of value. You got to bring something that makes you desirable. If you're not desirable, you got to work on yourself. And until you do that, you should really stay inside.
So how did he take that?
So the way that we finished the conversation, I told him, I was like, yo, bro, figure out what value you could bring and get back to me. And if you can't come to a solid conclusion of what value you could bring, do not go to InvestFest. And he brainstormed, he thought about it, and he just hit me. It was like, yeah, bro, I just don't think it's a good move to go. And it was like mutual, it wasn't like he felt like I was trying to sun him or anything like that. He just knew that I had his best intention because like we were saying, bro, what's the point of getting in the room if you don't know what your intention is of what you want to get? Like, yeah, you could take pictures. Yeah, we're going to party in Atlanta. But it's like, bro, there's more to business than that. You could party in your hometown,
Nah, I think that was dope that you had that exchange and you being real with him because most people like, you need to just go. I look at it as like almost like college where they love when you're undecided. Why? Because you got to float around and you got to stay there longer so they make more money. Most people don't think about it from that way. I'm thinking like, nah, I got to figure out what I want to do. So like, nah, you undecided or you take liberal arts, you figure it out for 2 years. 2 years? I'm going to waste 2 years of tuition and not know what I want out of this. So, I'm still not pro college, but listen, if you want to go to college, please go with a purpose and an angle. But
yeah, and I feel like that explains why KB dropped out. Like KB, he knew from the jump that what he was trying to get out of college was marketing, but he felt like just the environment of that, he wasn't going to get what he needed. So, well, you was one semester and you was done, right?
I was pretty much done after the first month. But
yo, every time he shares his college experience, it keeps getting shorter and shorter. It's like, why did you go?
Yo, the funny thing about it, I didn't think about it till now. I literally had a meeting. Like I had my own meeting with freshmen. I said, yo, we cannot wait 4 years to make some money. What are we going to do about this? Yo, they look at me like I had 6 heads. Like, we just got here. I'm like, yo, got to wait 4 years.
Wait, hold on. Time out. You was recruiting freshmen to drop out your first month in college?
Nah, I wasn't recruiting to drop out. I'm just saying, yo, we got to figure something else out. And it was so funny because we was in the cafeteria and they just like, yo, okay, I feel you, but my mom just took out these loans. I'm like, that's why. Like, but yeah, I'm just the type of person like I gotta have the angle, I gotta find a purpose. So I'm asking a lot of questions in the beginning, and if the questions don't line up to what I want, then I just make my move.
Wow. So let's talk about just the importance of networking, right? Because I feel like how has networking changed your situation and your environment, the people around you, and just your business mindset? Like, how has that shifted for you over the last couple of years?
I mean, essentially, that's how I grew my training business from the jump because I was part of network marketing. So all the real hustlers
network marketing.
all the hustlers did network marketing. So I learned how to build relationships with people that was a different background for me, and I ended up training them. And then as I transitioned from fitness to financial literacy, that came with networking as well. So literally one relationship, shout out to my boy Glad Credit. He taught me the credit game. And now I didn't think I was going to retire training, but now I do, business funding now. So
let's talk about that real quick, bro, because I feel like people need to know the backstory. Again, we were debating in the beginning of like, should we name this, relationships is everything or, one connection away. So how did you and Glad meet? And like, did you feel like that connection was gonna, Glad was gonna be your introduction into the financial literacy? Like, how did that happen?
Not at all. Like the intention of us meeting, he was actually giving value on his page, like free information. And I took one of his plays. I'm not sure what it was about, but it was regards to credit. I'm like, yo, it actually worked. I hit him up like, yo, bro, I appreciate that. And he saw what I was doing as far as training, and far as I was just not just training, but what else I want to do for community, and as far as providing, financial literacy for what I knew at the time. And we linked up. It's like, yo, let's do something. And literally, us impacting the community caused us to catch up, catch a drink, and we were just talking about our different stories. And come to find out, we went to the same high school. So when we were seniors, I believe he was just coming in after we left.
Wow.
And so you never know where that connection can lead to from, prior. And from there, we just shared information, shared values of what we wanted in our community, what we want to do. We want to be leaders and make a difference. And literally, that was the initial setup. It was nothing like he told me his offer. I went to a secret meeting and he laid out everything. It was nothing like, there was no intentions of me even thinking about transitioning in that space. And as you be around certain people, you build a relationship. You start to learn the different pros and the cons of their field. And I learned a lot of the cons in that field is where I'm a pro at.
Yep.
And which is making content, which is being in front of the camera, which is talking to people. Like, that's what I do all day. So I'm like, yo, I could do this. And he was just saying like, yo, you already packing people on a physical level. You can help them at another level in the financial aspect. You just got to learn the game. And literally, after taking his course, everything changed. I funded myself $250,000. I start helping one of my training clients. And then now it's at, $2 million in funding.
Wow. So you see, that's the power in, what KB is just saying is that relationship went from, just, yo, we got a few things in common. I want to learn more about what you do. I'm going to teach you more about what I do. And that relationship went from, just forming itself to turning into a $2 million relationship and funding, over $2 million to Black businesses. So I think that's powerful, bro. And, me just taking a step back and thinking about how important relationships is, it makes me go all the way back to like basketball and sports.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of that stuff that sports did for me, it opened up so many doors. And it made me think of all of the relationships I have, bro. I want to say more than 70% of the relationships I have been formed through sports.
Yeah.
And as I got older, now my new relationships are being formed through business, but I just have such, so much doors is open because of sports.
And that's the thing too. Those relationships from sports never die, because now you can do a business with somebody you used to play ball with when you was 6, 7 years old.
Yep.
And that's what I love about when you build a solid bond and you have a solid brand and you come with true values, people respect that. So, and also too, as I was training, I brought him on to speak to my clients.
Yep.
As far as Glad, and he was giving them value. So I'm in there taking notes like, yo, I need this for myself as well. So it was full circle where when you can bring something to the table, you can answer somebody else's problem and, not expecting anything in return. And when you have that, not a transactional type of a giver, when you just like, you know what, if I could solve a problem, I rock with you, I'll do it. And as many times I did that within my own journey, and it always come full circle. And I think karma is real on the positive and the negative.
Yeah.
And so networking is the role of that. I think people miss out on just being genuine. Like most people, they try to scope with the network and try to snipe, where it's like, yo, I know he doing this. All right, bet. So I'm gonna try to spark a conversation. I'm gonna give him a fake compliment. And then after I give him a compliment, I'm gonna like, yeah, here's my offer.
Yeah.
And people can sense that. It could get over on a lot of people, but people that's real, they get sense like, all right, you trying to sell me, bro. Like, and when I get in that position, I automatically shut off. I don't want to hear nothing else you say, because I know it's not genuine. You're trying to do a tactic where it's like, if there is something there, then let it be. But if it's not, and you're trying to, fabricate your story,
Yeah.
to relate to mine. Like, yeah, bro, I was doing this. I was in training. I was in fitness, and you never trained anybody. But because you know I used to be a trainer, you trying to connect with me? Nah, bro.
Get out of here. Yeah. And you know what's crazy? That just made me think of something at InvestFest. So when I was in InvestFest this year, you know, a lot of people were coming up to my table, showing me love. And I have like a tactic of how I engage with people. I ask them 3 questions, a series of yes or no questions. And it lets me know how serious they are in what I'm offering, which is my planner. And met this one guy. He came up to the booth. I was asking him yes or no questions. And I was like, hey, so here's the first question, yes or no? And he was like, well, you press the button for me. And I'm like, bro, you messing up the, you know, I'm trying to get you engaged so I could build a relationship with you. And I felt like he came off like he was, you know, at a pedestal. So he rubbed me the wrong way. And then after that, I was like, all right, I didn't want nothing to do with this dude, right? And then after he was like, yeah, yo, we should follow each other. We should do this. We should do that because, you know, I'm like, bro, this relationship is dead, bro. Like by you coming off the wrong way of like, you know, bro, it was simple like a yes or no button. He was like, nah, I don't want to press the button. You press the button. And he just started that relationship completely wrong. So he was like, yo, follow me, follow me. I was like, all right. And then I hit the follow button. He walked away. I went back and I unfollowed that right away, bro. Because I'm like, you're not going to try to, you know, act like you're at this pedestal and then try to say you're trying to build a relationship. So I feel, again, if you do it wrong, you know, and he could, bro, if he had easily just shifted how he like presented himself, I'd have definitely showed him love, right? But like, bro, after that, I didn't even want to sell him my planner. I was like, yeah, you could go to the next booth, my boy, because I'm done with you, you know?
You only get one time for a first impression.
Bro, you got to say that again because I feel like most people don't understand when it does come to first impressions, you only do get one attempt.
Yeah, you only get one attempt for a first impression. And I think people forget that because if you don't trust somebody in the immediate seconds that you meet them, then you're probably never going to end up trusting that person.
Never.
So that's why trust is so powerful because I read something about this dude Simon Sinek, and he said the scale of people falling in love is not on the first date, and it doesn't take 7 years. So we don't know what's the timeline, but you know it's in between that time. So it's the same thing with your best friends, your day ones, your homies. How do you have a person trust you with their life at this point? And it's because that initial setup. Now, sometimes people don't like each other in the beginning for whatever reason, and then they might have an experience that bring them back. So there's some people that's day twos. But the trust will always outweigh everything else. And I think when that trust messes up in the beginning, it's very hard to try to regain that. Back to, you know, romantic relationships, you cheat on somebody, it's very hard. Once it's like a crumbled paper, loose leaf. Once it's crumbled, it'll never be the same again.
Right.
So it's the same thing with business. Is like you want to have that trust from the very beginning. Feel like you're trying to sell me, or you're not, because that means you're not really listening to my needs. If you're just trying to sell me what you offer, like, yo, you need this, you can use this, and it's like, I met a dude try to sell me a sneaker cleaner. My sneakers are clean, and he's trying to like, yo, I can make them whiter, bro. Yo, you trying to disrespect me?
Yeah.
Like, I believe it worked, but I just don't want that. It's like, all right, bro, big bro, you get this, you could get that. Don't do that. Don't call me big bro. You like 40.
Yeah. And you could tell when someone isn't being genuine, right? So what would you say, KB, like, you know, just looking at all the relationships, the title of this episode is Relationships is Everything. What would you say over the course of business and just your life, what have been your strongest relationships, or what relationships has opened the most doors for you throughout your business career?
That's a hard question, bro. Everything is based on relationships for me. Oh, damn. I mean, I would say for leverage purposes, definitely, you know, my brother, Roddy, when it comes to real estate, because he's a GOAT at mortgages. So me being a realtor, we work, it's like, you know, yin and yang, Splash Brothers, when it comes to getting deals done. And I know much more than an average realtor because I have the inside financial information that's needed, far as in, you know, what's going on with the market, what's going on, the changes of the rates, or I get at home where a lot of people don't get access to. So that puts me an edge off every realtor. My romantic relationship, shout out to Shirley once again. She get another shout out.
She
But
gets
by me helping
every
her,
episode.
yeah, exactly. She just come up, right? But by me helping her before we would, was romantically, just her being my client. And her platform brought me a lot of people and a lot of attention because now she has, 200,000 followers. People come to my page like, yo, you helped this person in 5 weeks. I want to help. So that played a big role where I had to find help on my own business. Like, yo, I got to get more people to talk to these leads. So, the people that's closest to me and you, bro, it's like far as in what you have done with your platform and what we doing together with this episode. And we know each other for what, 23 years now.
Yeah.
So it's always been solid when it comes down to talking about business, talking about what's needed. And that type of support people don't have. So, it's a privilege that, we can grow, be in different spaces of our life and still continue to grow together. So, the people that's closest to me is my most powerful relationships, that I had, where it helps me on the internal of my business or the external as far as how I move. So yeah, relationships is number one for me.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing of how you know how solid a relationship is when your relationships have been tested or are tested, right? So I feel like if that's the true strength of a relationship, tested, right? Like, and I feel like, me and KB, our relationship has been tested over the years of, moving to different places, going in different industries, like when we was growing up, we used to, argue and fight, all of that stuff that men do. And through all of that, we see the genuineness in who we are and how we bring value to each other. So I feel like that's a big part of knowing how strong a relationship with. Another example that comes to my mind is me and my wife. Me and my wife, we've been, together for 8 years. We've been married for 2 going on 3 years. And the beginning parts of our relationships was tested, and that let me know that she's the person for me and I'm the person for her. So I feel like, as relationships are tested, it kind of shows you how much longevity they have.
You ever think about how things would be different if you didn't meet those certain people?
Yeah, bro, absolutely. So every time I think back about it is like, if I didn't meet my wife, if I didn't meet KB, if I didn't meet some of my mentors that opened the door for me, it always made me realize that like those are the people that are the closest to me. So I don't know, like it makes me a little bit, nervous sometimes of how different life could have been, because I always tell myself this, bro, like I'm always, most people are always one decision away from being a completely different person, and yeah, I don't know, bro, because, just from us meeting each other and, you know, making different moves, it's crazy to think about it. So now I'm just grateful for it. I try not to think of what it would look like if it didn't happen, because it didn't, and everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I personally believe I'll be a different person if the strongest relationships I have now didn't exist.
Yeah, I think so too, because you probably wouldn't be wearing those shoes still.
You always bring it back to the fact that I didn't wear shoes when I was 8. Yo, when you come from Jamaica and you're used to not wearing shoes, that's the typical, you don't, you just got.
Wait, but it's not just like, all right, go outside, go get the meal, no shoes. It's like, yo, I'm on my scooter kicking. I've got my own brakes.
I was Flintstones with it. I mean, bro, that was just what I knew, and
That's why I was first initial meet. So when I kept seeing him, I'm like, yo, I gotta ask this kid, like, yo, why he has those shoes on? And I asked him, this is the first conversation. I said, yo, bro, why you wear those shoes? He said, because I'm faster without them. And we've been rocking ever since. I felt bad for him.
Yo, listen, that was the year 2000. I was 7 years old, and I just came from Jamaica 2 years ago. So it's like you go to Jamaica now and you see how these kids is operating. I had to evolve, but that's how it started. Relationships is everything.
I felt like I could give you value, gave you some sneakers, but you said you had some.
Yeah, I always had sneakers. I just didn't like to wear them. I mean, it is what it is.
So wait, so what's some tips for networking?
So if I was to talk to someone and give them some advice on networking, is you just don't know where that relationship could go, right? I could share a few examples of how I met someone at a networking event, or how I met someone and it escalated, right? So for example, I'm going to keep talking about InvestFest, but I'm going to talk about last year. Last year at InvestFest, or Circles of CEOs, one of those two events, I met someone who who was putting together an event in Mexico, right? And she said, Lay Kim, she came to my booth, she showed me love, and she was like, yo, Lay Kim, this planner is amazing. And she made me feel good about what I had to offer. And then at the end, she was like, look, I have an event in Mexico, Tulum, and I think this would be a perfect opportunity for you to do, show up and be there. And I found that it seemed genuine, and I felt great about it. And then from there, bro, I showed up to the event. She was, everything she said happened. And, fast forward, 7 months later, she eventually became one of my, coaching clients. And it was just so crazy because just being in that environment, it made me realize that there's so much opportunities. I went to environments, Circles of CEO in Atlanta, and I met a guy who came up to my booth and was like, yo, I'm a barber in Philly. And I'm like, yo, I live in Philly. And from that situation, he was my barber ever since, So it's just, you don't know where a relationship is going to go. So treat it as if that relationship could, open up multiple doors, even if you're not sure.
So when y'all first, back to the lady for the event, when y'all first met, was it any type of rapport, any type of connection that drew y'all close to each other in conversation?
Well, I feel like it was just my typical pitch. My typical pitch, I feel like it makes people feel approachable, that I am approachable. So I ask them questions, ask them about themselves, and I ask them how they're currently operating with their planning and being strategic. And from there, I feel like people just naturally gravitate to me. And I don't think she said the planner was a good fit for her, but she said it was a good fit for her husband. And from there, it was just like, yo, she saw the value in me, and I feel like from right then and there, that's what allowed the relationship to build.
And what turned her to being a client? What did she see?
Yeah, so it went from me attending her event to me then posting consistently. So what's crazy is once I hired a team to post for me every single day, she actually responded to one of my call to actions. And I said, comment this word or info or help. And she said, Lay Kim, help. And then I said, hey, like, let's hop on a call. And I assessed her situation. And she was like, Lay Kim, I've been looking for this since last year when I met you. And it was just crazy, bro. So you just never know, what's going to turn out. But the two things that I learned about when you are building a relationship is, one, you have to show your value right away. And number two, once that relationship has been built, show your level of consistency, because people are watching. And I think that's what we talked about. I think before we start recording, is you never know who's watching.
Yeah. And when I got from that story just now is, one, you increased your value after the first event.
Correct.
So as you had another offer, the planner was the original offer, the first step, but as you had another offer for accountability and helping with her content, that made her want to tap in. So it's like you increase your value as you keep going through time. If you're just doing the same thing over the course of time, then nobody can find you valuable. Well, less people can find you valuable, I should say. So, and as you've been consistent with your brand and your posting, that helps because there's so many frauds out here. There's so many people scamming, or people just saying they doing things they're not really doing. But
Yep.
when you're consistent with it and somebody met you at a certain point in time, I met this person in May. He told me about he's going to do X, Y, and Z. Now it's October and you did it and you show that you did it. It's like showing proof your work, like in school.
Yeah.
Like, this person's legit. And, that was the big thing for, for training, because when they see a person that's not me, their body changed in a course amount of time. Like, yo, I knew him for a year. My body changed in 6 months. And I look bigger than I was before.
Right. Yeah.
So like, and by that time, the year was done, I had more offers. I had more ways of training. I added value to myself. And I think we get so caught up in the first initial, they not rocking with me. They ain't tap in. It's like, no, people got to trust you. They got to watch you long enough to see if you actually doing what you say you do.
Or I think another misconception a lot of people have is when they meet someone, a new connection, they feel like they have to have everything all figured out, right? People just need to see that you're starting, that you're in the game. Once someone see that you're in the game and you're making progress to a better version of yourself, like they want to be a part of that journey. And I'm just grateful for a lot of the people that I met, bro. It's like people believed in me when I was in the beginning stages, like just thinking this, I just want to, peel it back one step. It's like, bro, you introduced me to Glad, right? Glad then asked me to speak to his clients. One of his clients after the call then reached out to me, John Wick. And then from John Wick, John introduced me to Cody. Cody introduced me to Lee. Because I think Cody or one of them introduced me to Chin, and it's snowballed. So you just never know where that relationship could go. But even though when I met all of these people, I didn't have it all figured out, but I was in motion. And when you have motion, people, they respect it and they want to be a part of it. So I think that's a big part of relationships. Just start.
Yeah, and I gotta bring the other side to it as well. Is if you don't do good by one person, you're not just losing that one person. You're losing everybody else they was gonna plug you with.
Wow.
So that's why service is very important. And if you mess up, then compensate for it. Extra time, extra money, apologize, whatever you do, because there's a lot of relationships that has been lost because they ain't do right by me. So I'm not plug you with anybody else because that's gonna make me look bad.
Yep.
So relationships is really everything, depending on how you want to, swing the pendulum, but you got to make sure that you do good by people. And, everybody's not going to work with each other. Everybody has different personalities, different vibes, granted. But you being disservice to somebody shouldn't be acceptable.
Facts. And I think that is so true, bro, because when you burn a bridge, it's a lot. It's more than just one bridge you're burning. You're really closing multiple doors. And I feel like a lot of people, they miss that, bro. So what would you say, right? So like, as we're getting closer to the end of this episode, what would you say to someone, right? As they're looking to build stronger relationships, but they're scared of either approaching someone or they just don't know the best way to do it. What would you say to that person that knows network is important, but they're a little bit nervous to do it?
You mean like what do you call it?
Introverts?
Introverts.
Yeah.
You could be introvert, but your business is not. So with that being said, you got to get out your own box, get out your own shell, because at the end of the day, you're selling to people. So if you don't study people, you're not going to be great at business. If you don't know how to communicate, there's no way nobody can know what you offer. You're not going to make any sales. So that's the thing about, AI is great, but it can't replace a human experience.
Yep.
So you have to get out of your shell, and you're probably introvert when it comes to newer spaces, but when you're around your friends or your family, I bet you're not an introvert. Why? Because you have something in common. You have some type of commodity here. So you got to figure out who is your tribe. Most times people try to, I never worked corporate, so I don't talk corporate. So people try to put on this voice or put on, dress different. And it's like, yo, come as you are. And you'll be more relatable to the person that speaks your language. And I think that's what people think that gets them confused in these certain rooms where it's like, yeah, they don't look like me. They don't do this. If you're weird, then be weird. Like there's somebody that's weird that's going to appreciate that. And they're going to be like, yo, I'm weird. I didn't have nobody else that's like me. So be authentic self. I think that's what's going to help you draw more people when it comes to you building your relationships.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, bro, I think one thing I would definitely speak to everyone in the community is when you're trying to form a new relationship, be genuine. Like kind of exactly what you said, be yourself, right? When you try to portray someone that you're not, when the light is shining, people gonna see who you are for who you are, right? And I feel like that's just such a big, it's a turnoff, bro. When someone is misleading in the beginning and they pretend to be someone and is like, bro, you're not who you say you are. So be genuine, be yourself, but remember like what KB and I said in the beginning, you only have one chance to make a first impression. So for me, what always helps me build really good first impressions and strong relationships is I'm myself, right? I make strong eye contact, I smile a lot, and I ask people about themselves, right? The worst networkers, the people who don't have a lot of good relationships, when they go into a relationship, they just talk about themselves, right? The people who are really great, the experts, the professionals, we think, how could I have this person share a little bit about themselves before I tell them anything about me? Once I mastered that concept, I've only built great relationships with my first impressions. So I think that's my advice for anyone that's struggling or uncertain with building good relationships the first time.
Yeah, nah, bro, that's definitely essential. And I want people to realize too is that when you have that relationship, try to hold on to as much as possible and continue to give value and be genuine in your giving. Try not to be so transactional because that can spoil a relationship because it's like, all right, I know why this person hit me up because they got an event coming up. They're trying to give me the promo. That's the only time I speak to them. And you become an ad. So when people treat you like that, they can't be real with you. So even with my clients, I had to learn like, yo, let me not just hit them up when I got, an event going on. Let me start speaking to them throughout the week or let them know like I do care because I truly do. But if you don't care, then don't act like you do.
Yourself, right? Yep.
Yourself. And I noticed when I build that rapport, that changes everything. And now I know I offer more than just training. So now they ask me about everything else, how to get a house, how to do credit, how to do funding, anything. So just be genuine with yourself and know that the relationship that you have with people is everything.
Facts, bro. And one last thing that just came to my mind is everyone who's listening to this, get out your comfort zone, right? Get yourself in the room and then remember this. You are one connection, one relationship away from meeting anyone that you want, right? But you have to put yourself out there because like what KB and I said and what the title of this episode is, relationships is everything. Entrepreneurhood, let's get it.
Anyone can start, but only champions finish. Now that you've completed this episode, you're ready to continue your journey by connecting directly with our hosts of Entrepreneurhood. Follow us on Instagram at The Entrepreneurhood to stay updated with the community. For each episode, the first set of listeners to tag us on Instagram and leave a 5-star review will be entered into a drawing to get a free one-on-one coaching session on the topic of entrepreneurship with our hosts. Remember, there is no shame in struggling because we fail, we grow, and we win. Right here on Entrepreneurhood.